Now, almost that. Well, so I was saying, as I was saying, you have to get a green light from the airport, but they never told me that. But you want to lock the tail wheel. This little dumb plane here, the N3 has a steerable tail wheel, which is lockable. And you have to lock it, which means you have to taxi the plane forward to get that wheel lined up, then lock that tail wheel. So when you land, it won't knock you cockeyed. Okay, having done that, what you do is you put the throttle full forward, presuming you've put your mixture back where it's supposed to have been, and you take off and you just fly up like this, and you fly off and do what you're supposed to do. And then when you come back, you're supposed to land by stalling out the airplane, and you can't make power-on landings with this thing very successfully. It all has to be stalls. We'll come back to that. So finally, here I am in the cockpit with an instructor, and he's got me up in the air, and he hasn't said a thing to me. He talks to me through a rubber tubing with a mouthpiece, and I'm wearing a helmet with goggles on. I have a chute pack on. I'm all tied into the chute pack. He didn't tell me to lock it in. I have a seat belt on, tightened. He didn't tell me to put on my seat belt. He didn't tell me anything. He's just fussing at me because my left wing is low. Get it up. My nacelle is up above the horizon. Get it down. Get it down. Put your throttle back to 750, man. Man, you're going too fast. Well, you're going to stall out. Well, all that sort of talk. And that's all it is for a whole hour until you can fly straight and level. And then you're worn out and you're down again. And the next day, it's the same thing. Every day, an hour flight. And on the 8th hour, what have you been through? You've been straight and level flight, climbs, descend, turns with bank, 8s around pylons, loops, slow rolls, snap rolls, chandelles, and now for the last act, the bloody power off stall. Now we've already flown over the hot roads down there. They were just on highway through that place, and when it was hot, you flew over it. The plane went like this because the air currents coming up from that hot top is just making turbulent air, and the plane is shaking like mad. Well, you're approaching with the power off, shaking like that, and then it's worse and worse. And finally, you have to kick it into a tailspin, because if you stall, you may come down upside down, and man, you're dead. You can't get out of that. So you have to be taught how to go over, like put the right rudder forward and just kick it over, and you go ooh and enter the tailspin, but now you're going straight down to the earth, and you've got to stop that twisting around, so you must recover by hitting the other rudder and shooting a little gas to it. And when I first did this, I put it on full, and boy, did he get me, overpower me to get it back, or I'd crash right into the earth, and then pull out, hoping not to pull 9 Gs and take the wings off. So you learn how to do that, but that's not the end of it. Of course, now you've got to learn to do a power on stall, because this is the living end. With cruising at 1750, you've got to really know what you're doing. Besides, you know, you have to do this up not near the ground, because you're going to end up like this on recovery. You have to be up like 5,000, 6,000 feet. And then you've got plenty of room to come down and pull out. So, but on the power off stall, it really shakes. All the dust on the floor comes up from years before. You sneeze right in the middle of the tailspin. You're trying to get it back, kicking. All done it without ever reading a book or a manual, of having any instruction, or anyone tell you what this was or that was, what the cruise speed was, what the stalling speed is, or nothing. You learn that way, and that's that course. So now at the 8th hour, I'm coming down, he lands, he's never let me make a takeoff. He has never said anything about how to land. I don't know how he figures I could do it. He says go solo. So he gets out of the airplane, takes a chute pack, sits at the end of the runway, sits on it, says go, and so I take off. If I haven't taxied back, I make sure I lock that tail wheel. Then I give it full power. And I look at the height of the grass so I know if I can stall out or not. My own invention, it doesn't work always. And take off, full speed, 440 RPM, get up to 1,000 feet to make a rectangular course around 1,000 feet, come in, make a landing, taxi back, get out and go home. Only I get up to the 1,000 feet, and I'm ready to make the left turn, so I want to level out and level flight, and so I'm pulling on this throttle, and stuck wide open, and I can't get it closed. So at 440 RPMs, I'm going like this, up, 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 up to a service ceiling if I don't do something. So what do you think the first thing I did was? They never told me what to do in this event. I took my magnetic compass reading, and mine, say it was 305 degrees. Remember that, because I wanted to get back at the speed I'm going. I'm going to be way away at 120 miles an hour. I will be going like 2 miles every minute. And in 10 minutes, I'll be, 40 miles away. I'm going to be able to get back. So 305 degrees. Now, what do? I have three options. I can turn off the magnetos, bail out, but I know that there was no parachute loft back at that airport. That chute's been in this airplane I don't know how many years. It might have mothballs in it. That's out. Or I can got the magnetos, make a glide, and try to make a forced landing. Judging my airspeed by the drift across those farmers' plowed roads down there in their farm. And let me tell you, I put that out because I could not make a landing on that thing. So I said, I'm going to try once more to pull that thing back. So I I put both feet on the inner piping structures of the fuselage, so I had something to push against, put both hands on the throttle, pulled, and just let the plane fly itself. Now there's an old thing about opening peanut jars when they're stuck, and you want to get in and get that peanut butter. You turn, but it just won't go. You keep trying, give it force, but there's nothing. Hold on just a little longer, and shut it, it'll go. So that's what I did. Gave it that extra little force and extra little time. Sure enough, I got it back to 1750 RPM, cooling the motor down, but I got that dumb Gosport tube right over the throttle, so I have to flip it into the seat and not get it in the rudder pedal. I succeeded in doing that. Now I got to subtract 180 degrees from 305. How do you do that after all this? I invented it on the spot. Subtract 200 and add 20. Two-step process. You go from 305 to 105. Add 20, 125. All right, make a left turn. Come down to a bearing of 125. Not too much wind that day. I'm bearing to get there. And when I get that, I make a low approach. I'm too low. I have to fly around again. Make a high approach, too high. Third one, just right. I get down and I stall that thing out. Go down there and tax it back. He gets in the front cockpit. We go over the airport. He goes in, does his paperwork, comes out and says, okay, you soloed. He never mentioned any question about what happened or nothing like that. He didn't say anything to me. I didn't say anything to him. But after that, though, I had, although I flew it several times after that, I had some 3 injuries from the physical training and had to drop out of the course.